Our view of sustainability and my dream is that we shouldn't have to talk about it. You shouldn't have to be worried about how your clothes were made or where your food comes from. You should just be able to call it food and call it clothes and buy it knowing that, no one was harmed in the process and you're not going to die from it. And it should be really simple.
It's like we've gotten so far away from where we came from in the interest of efficiency.
Yeah.
Efficiency, and
That's
profit
right.
margins, and that sort of thing, and it's just bringing it back to where...
Bringing it back to something a little bit more human, because there are literally humans doing this.
This is the Kingpins Podcast, the place where we talk about all things denim. I'm fashion journalist Allison Nieder.
I'm Erin Barajas, Director of Communications at Kingpins.
For this episode of the Kingpins Podcast, we talk about sustainability and social responsibility with Abrima Erwiah, the co-founder of Studio 189 in New York. Erin and I had a chance to sit down with Abrima last year at the Denim Days Festival in New York. We hope you enjoy our conversation.
My name is Abrima Erwiah. I have a brand called Studio 189 that's based between New York and West Africa and Ghana, Accra.
Tell me a little bit about the line.
I started Studio 189 in 2013 with my now business partner, Rosario Dawson. I am West African and American. My mother's from Mississippi. My father is from Ghana and Ivory Coast. And I grew up in New York, and I worked with various luxury companies. And I was always really fascinated by their commitment to craft and artisanship and techniques passed down from generation to generation. But when I would go visit artisans in my own country and people doing amazing work, I would see that it was really difficult to access market and really difficult to kind of go above a glass ceiling. People were not traveling as much to these countries, and also it's really difficult to get the paperwork to leave those countries and to get the training you need to build those skill sets. And so the idea of fashion and fashion with cause or fashion that was tied to humanity was still very charity focused. And then, Mohammed Yunus, the founder of microloans and social enterprise, won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006. I think I had learned about it. I was kind of interested in this idea that you could do business and charity at the same time, so basically business with impact. And so I put together this concept. I sent it to some friends, and one of them was Rosario. And so the premise of Studio 189 is saying that every time the consumer buys something, they make a choice. Make a choice of what kind of person you want to be, what kind of world you want to live in, and you activate a supply chain, and so how about if you bought it doesn't have to be from us, but how about if you made purchases with that in mind? Imagine the kind of world we could live in. And so we always say fashion can be an agent of social change. So many people don't realize it's $1 trillion industry. So many people don't realize how much it pollutes and how much it affects humans because, like you said, we're so disconnected from the whole supply chain. And so, it's not meant to be preachy. It's meant to be like amazing and beautiful. And like, we encourage you to like love beautiful things and to wear beautiful things, but to do it with a level of consciousness, because I think, and so does Rosario, that the consumer cares. We just think they don't know. I didn't know. Obviously, when you have to think about the statistics for 2050, for example, they're horrifying. And to know that you could do something about it and no one told you is irritating. Like when you learn statistics, for example, that a t-shirt takes 2,700 liters of drinking water, which could be 2 years of drinking water for someone, and you think about one day your child may not have access to clean drinking water. I mean, look at Flint. They still don't have water. And all the T-shirts you bought for no reason, or all the T-shirts that were made for sports activities and all the stuff, the junk that's been produced, why didn't anybody tell me? It's not about telling someone what they should do. It's just about giving them the information and letting them make an informed choice, which is what more and more consumers want when it comes to food, because they've learned that they want to be able to make the choice of what goes inside their bodies. Fashion also affects what goes inside your bodies and what goes outside your bodies, because it uses water, it uses chemicals, it uses all kinds of stuff. So anyway, it's just thoughts like that. So what we do is essentially we try to preserve traditional techniques. We work with a lot of artisans. We opened a factory. So we launched our first collection in 2013. It started as collaborations, which I've been thinking a lot about recently. We started with a lot of collaborations. We didn't have our own silhouettes, and then that graduated into us starting to make patterns. We try to do everything in West Africa, everything in local communities and local markets, because we want to have localized supply chains and go end to end and build infrastructure, again, because so often and a lot of communities' resources are extracted and value is added somewhere else, and we want to be able to really do the whole thing in a local market. And it can be any local market. We're specifically focused on like Ghana and its surrounding countries, but it doesn't have to be. It can be somewhere else as long as it's somewhat localized and we're not shipping things back and forth all over the place to make one garment. We started a factory through a program with the United Nations International Trade Center Ethical Fashion Initiative. And then we work with different communities that specialize in different techniques, from hand batiking, use a lot of natural indigo dye because we're big indigo fiends. We started growing indigo in the central region of Ghana. We also work with indigo dyers in the north. We use other forms of natural dyes as well. We do a lot of, various forms of weaves, kente weaving, and just like lots of different types of loom weaving. And we have various batikers and goldsmithing and cobbling and all these kinds of things. But the bigger thing is like we really try to go from soup to nuts, from the farm to the consumer and back around, and try to think about, what is going to happen to our garments after it's had its natural life. Like, where's it going later? And, trying not to also waste. So we're kind of really interested in sustainability and just asking ourselves the questions, and we don't always have the answers, which is why the community matters. Like sometimes we think we know, and then we find out that behind door number 2, there's something we didn't know about, and so how do we get there? I like to say that I think a big part of our role is connecting, bringing tradition into the future, because a lot of what goes on is traditional, and that's amazing, but in the long term, it needs to modernize a bit. But we want to modernize without erasing tradition. So it's a very fine line. We love the traditional practices, but we know that in a modern world, it can't stay exactly the way that it's always been. It's got to change or it will die down. Either people won't want to buy it, or people don't want to train in it, and so that you just don't have the talent that you used to have, or it's just you won't have access to the water or the processes or whatever. So how do we modernize that?
Can you describe the line? What I've seen, it's very print-driven. It's really, the textiles are amazing. Walk people through what it...
Yeah, we are very textile-heavy. We are very print-driven. It's very tropical, very colorful. It's not only colorful, but we're really inspired by what we see around us. We're inspired by, earth. I'm like, right now I'm wearing a kimono. It's like navy and green with leaves, and I look like a plant, But it's just we really love that. We love like the sun and the water, and we really love blue because it has so many beautiful healing properties. It's got spiritual properties, healing properties. It's just like it's in so many things, and it connects so many cultures. And for us, a big part of our work is message driven. And so, like for example, we use a lot of indigo because it's something that connects so many cultures. We have indigo in Japan, we have indigo in Ghana, we have indigo in Nigeria, we have indigo, in Burkina Faso, we have indigo, there's the denim industry in the United States. It's a proof that we have all been moved around. It's like a living legacy, and like it's the fil rouge. Like we all came from somewhere, and we all share these plants, and we all share this history with indigo and denim. And a lot of times when people talk about Africa sometimes, or Ghana, they have an idea in their head of what it's supposed to look like, who it's supposed to look like, who it's supposed to serve, etc. But if I pluck indigo out and I like have an indigo button-down shirt or something like that, and it's just sitting on a rack, you don't know where that shirt came from. You could have gotten it in Japan, you could have gotten it in India, you could have gotten it in Nigeria. And that to me is so magical because it shows that it's like, it's all in your head, like it's bigger than us. Like we're all connected, we're all sisters, we're all brothers. We all come from the same place. And so like our collections are very much rooted in this kind of thing. If you come to our shows, you can see that. You see like everybody, like we did a show, it was so magical. It had like, everybody came down the runway, everybody, every kind of look, every kind of idea, every kind of vibe, but not because we were intentionally setting out to be like, I want to, check this off the box, and I want to have this number of black people and that number of this thing and that. No, it's because these are our friends, and this is what, and that's why I think it's the future. Like, this is what it is. Like, it's inclusive, it's fluid, it's diverse, it's lots of things, and our clothes look like that. They're flexible. There's a lot of like drape, a lot of we like to do things that we like to say go from day to evening, so that way, we travel a lot. It's meant for like a busy person who packs a bag. Sometimes it's small or goes to work, and like maybe you can wear it during the day, like the kimono I'm wearing, and then you can belt it at night and put on heels instead of sneakers or something, and you have a whole other look because we're busy. Who's got time to do all that? But it still looks amazing, and like each person wears it different. When you talk about sustainability, it's such a huge umbrella topic. I just sat on another panel recently, and someone asked those questions. Like, where do you begin? And also, like, what do you judge a brand against? It's such a big, like saying organic, it's such a big thing. Like you can be sustainable because you have a great recycling program, but then you do everything else terribly. Does that make you a sustainable brand? And also like, I just discovered I didn't discover anything. I met him in Stockholm. William McDonough, he has the book Cradle to Cradle, and he created the whole like cradle to cradle philosophy. And he was saying to me, Abrima, like if it was produced badly and you recycle it, it's more bad. He put it so simply. He's like, if you used negative materials to make it at the beginning and it wasn't thought to be recycled, and then you try to burn it, you're releasing really negative toxins into the environment. You're making it worse. Sometimes it's better to do nothing.
Right.
And like I was like, mind blown. He said he's like, it's more bad. And I was like, oh my God. He's like, you have to design products that are thought at its inception to be repurposed later. Exactly. And if it wasn't, then you have to think about, and again, I'm still learning his philosophy, but then you have to think about how you can use those materials at its best purpose. So it's not necessarily burning it. That might not be the right thing. And it might not necessarily be turning it into something else. It might have to be turning it into a parallel product. So you're not releasing more CO2, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, I just think it's really, it's not an easy answer. And that's why I think you got to go human first. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're willing to be open-minded and conscious about the things that you're doing, then you're just like an open book, like a child and a sponge, and you're willing to learn. And then if you're willing to learn, you're going to make it better. If you're just like, I'm sustainable, like, want a cookie? Do you want like a gold star for that? Like, great job, like really good, like, great, you did something well today.
The Council of Fashion Designers of America also recognized you with the Sustainability Award last year. Mm-hmm. Tell me how that process went about.
Yeah, so about, I guess a little over a year ago, lots of people suggested that we apply for this competition. So the CFDA, the Council of Fashion Designers of America, and Lexus have this program called the CFDA Lexus Fashion Initiative, which is focused on sustainability. When I first learned about it, I was like, this doesn't make sense for us. I was like, wait, why would we do this? And also because I don't see us as, I think that there's some amazing designers that are really creative and really design focused. And I think ours is a little different because it's very mission driven, and it's really about the process and some like background details. The foundation matters sometimes more than having the most creative item. And so I just thought maybe that wasn't the right fit for us, but it kept coming. Again, the universe tells you what to do. Like this, you should do this, you should do this. And so I was like, okay. And you know what? The application was a monster. It was so intense and so much information, which I totally understand why they do that, because what it did is it created the best class. They ask for so much information. It's essentially like a massive business plan. But it's so great because you end up getting people who really want it. It's not fluffy, if you want to say. It's nothing like that. It's really serious. The CFD is really serious. And they want to, I feel like they want people to succeed. And, they put you in the context. And so we did this application. We got accepted. And from the very beginning, it was incredible. It was such a great ride. I didn't realize I needed it until it started, and I realized, oh my God, we need this. So like the first few years of what we were doing, like I said, I quit, I moved back to Ghana, and I put a big focus on, just building infrastructure, connections, community, kind of growing from the bottom up and organically, and, trying to affect the narrative and explain what we're about to buyers, retailers, press. A lot of people wanted it to be Rosario's charity in Africa, and it was very important for us that was not what it was about, and redefining what you thought clothes were coming from Africa, investing in traditional techniques, et cetera, et cetera. But once that was done, or once, we've reached a certain point, at some point something else has to happen. And, I realize now, again, hindsight, that what the CFDA offered us was the opportunity to have, the language. It's still new. This is all very nascent. Like, how do we talk about sustainability? And also, like, what are other people doing? Because so many people are doing such great stuff. And we're not trying to reinvent the model. We're trying to work together. So if you figured out how to make something that uses less water, tell me how. Like, if you figure out how to make leather out of pineapple, great. Can I use it? And so that's what this did. It gave us access to network. It gave us access to resources, information. It gave us a support system with like-minded individuals. Oh, and I want to add, Rosario has this quote that she really likes that is the journey is the destination. So this is like a life lesson that I've learned over these past few years of doing this. Realizing that it's the process, it's not necessarily where you're going, but sometimes it's really important to take stock and appreciate where you are right now and be present and be in this process. That's huge, and I'm one of those people, being a New Yorker, that's always rushing and running, and like, I really had to take a step back, and had to be like, okay, all right, like, I need to appreciate this, and I need to, because you don't know how much time you have, and you don't know, how much time your friend has, or this or that, or what, your parents, your grandparents, your kids, who knows, like, we think of so many things, and we're always stressed out, and like, but then there's all this amazing stuff right in front of us, like right in this moment. And I think it's really important that we remind ourselves. So it's an active reminder, like, and it's so different. Like, when you take a moment to take stock and be present, you can see how the world shifts around you. Like when we are at each other's throats, when we have, something bad happen, and we're just like, oh, it's all bad, it doesn't work, like it's just like negative things start to happen around you. People are not as nice to you, like you get sick, like bad things start to happen, that you're manifesting this negative energy. And when we come at it with a positive energy, all this amazing stuff happens. Just opportunities come, and like little things. It could just be somebody smiling at you. And you become very grateful for the small moments that you have, and it changes everything. And you start to learn to appreciate the moment you're in right now, because it's going to go. And that's why I said, the journey is the destination is a big lesson, because it's hard to remember that, especially when you have bills or you have responsibilities and you're nervous. But, that moment right then and there, that matters. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I'm grateful to be in this closet recording a podcast.
This has been the best. I am so grateful to be in the closets with you, for all the people, the listeners, wherever you may be. We are sitting in a closet at Denim Days Festival. Thank you, Denim Days and Kingpins, for allowing me to be on this podcast and telling our story.
No, the story is great. Thank you so much.
We love you so much.
For photos and videos, please visit kingpinshow.com.
We will have industry news, trend content, street-style galleries, store and designer profiles, and more podcasts.
Plus, you can find information and updates about our shows in New York, Amsterdam, Hong Kong, and China.
Thanks for listening.